Hi class, how are you today? Awkward silence. Okay then. The learning target for today is to solve two-step inequalities. So, solving two-step inequalities is very similar to solving two-step equations. There's not much difference, just knowing when you have to flip the sign, watching the inequality sign. That's the only difference, and then of course graphing afterwards. So there pretty much isn't anything new, it's just taking what we've been doing with inequalities the last few classes and combining that with two-step equations. So I'll do a few examples. Let's get started. Alright, so let's look at this first problem. Negative 3x plus 4 is less than 16. So, right now, treat it like an equation and just try to solve it. So first, you've got plus 4 here. So you want to undo that first, so subtract 4 from both sides. And that'll give you negative 3x is less than 12. Then you want to get rid of this negative 3, and it's multiplying, so you need to divide. So divide both sides by negative 3. This is where the change comes in. We divided both sides of the inequality by a negative number. So that means we need to switch this sign. So that means we get x is greater than, and then 12 divided by negative 3 is negative 4. And now we graph. So there's no line underneath, so that means it's not equal to, so that means an open circle at negative 4. And we shade to the right. So just like solving a two-step equation, just make sure to switch the sign if you divide by a negative number, and make sure you graph it. Alright, here's another example. So, first thing I want to mention is, based on what I've taught you guys should know two different ways to solve this inequality. And either way you use is perfectly fine. You could either subtract 8 from both sides, and then end up multiplying by 3. Or, you want to get rid of the fraction first and multiply everything, all three terms, by 3. Either of which is fine. The way I'm going to do it is, since the only fraction there is the one with the variable, I'm going to subtract 8 first. So remember, it's a positive 8, so we need to subtract it from both sides. And it's the 8 we do because it's the one that's on the same side as the variable, the one that's doing something to the variable. So we subtract 8 from both sides of the inequality. I keep getting emails during this video. And that gives us negative 3 is greater than x over 3. Then, we need to get rid of that divided by 3, so we do the opposite and multiply both sides by 3. So on the left, we have negative 9 is greater than x. Now one note, notice I did not change the sign. I did end up multiplying by a negative here, but that wasn't what I multiplied both sides by. So you have to look. What do you multiply both sides of the inequality by? We multiplied it by 3, a positive 3. So we didn't change the sign. However, though, we will end up changing the sign now because x is on the right, and to graph it we need it on the left. So just completely switch everything, So negative 9 is greater than x is the same as saying x is less than negative 9. And then we graph it. So once again, there's no line underneath this, so that means it's not equal to, so it's an open circle at negative 9, and then we shade to the left. Again, not much different from a normal equation, just we needed x on the left side, so when we brought it over we had to switch the direction of the inequality sign. And then we had to graph it. Only changes from an equation. Alright, one more example, then we're done. So in this equation, notice the entire left side is being divided by 11. So that's the thing we have to get rid of first. So we're dividing by 11, so we need to do the opposite and multiply. So we multiply both sides by 11. And remember, when you multiply the left side, or the side with the division, you have to cancel out. The 11 and the 11 cancel each other out. I still have a lot of people who will try to multiply x minus 4 by 11. If you're multiplying by a number and dividing by that same number on the same side, they end up canceling each other out. You need to remember that. So, on the left side, we have x minus 4. Notice, we multiplied by a positive number, so the sign doesn't change. Another email. Then, 2 times 11 is 22. Then we need to undo that minus 4, so we add 4 to both sides, and that will give us x is greater than or equal to 26. Then we graph it. This graph goes from 20 to 30, so we're going to have to find 26 on here, so 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So there is a line underneath, so that means it is equal to. So that means we need a solid dot at 26. And shade to the right, because it's greater than. Notice in solving the equation itself, there was no difference to if this was an equal sign. We didn't multiply by any negative numbers, and x was always on the left side, so we didn't have to switch what side it was on. So we never changed the sign. The only difference was that we then had to graph it. So sometimes there will be changes, sometimes there won't be. But the changes are minimal. Alright, that's the end of this lesson. Please, once again, make sure to take notes on the entire lesson, and right now, take a picture of your notes and submit them to eBackpack. Have a good night.